Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bairavee Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. So, today we're going to be talking about a couple of key alignments that we're going to be seeing. I'm going to actually take the starting date a little earlier from the 23rd of June all the way till July the 5th. Now, I'm also going to be a little bit, what's the word for it? Bit more open than usual for this particular video because this first alignment actually was a real whopper for me. So the 23rd of June, we saw Neptune stationing retrograde at 20 degrees Pisces. And that was actually a really powerful day for me. I got a very, 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 very bad awakening. And, sometimes these things happen. A long time ago, before I became the Sky Priestess, I was trying to help out a member of the family. And I just found out that that individual has transacted a gross amount of money on my name without me even knowing it. So I have to go to lawyers, I have to go to accountants to try and resolve it. And if I don't, I'm going to be stuck in a big financial mess for a couple of years. So I just found that out. And as soon as I found that out, I was just fried. I just lay down there and I was just like, I cannot do anything. But I still had to get up and work. But at least for a couple of hours, I just lay down there because I could not move. The sense of betrayal was so deep. And it's certainly a lot of pain and a lot of vulnerabilities come up. But like I said, that the time I made that decision was before I became the Sky Priestess. Bairavee Balasubramanian was a different person. So, it was a big wake up, big realization for me. I actually wanted to do a video yesterday, but I was just wiped. You could just feel it in your body, just this old pain that needed a lot of self attention, a lot of self care, and ice cream. That's my thing. That's my thing in moments like this. So I mentioned it to two friends, and I just kind of went, my work is about integrity. My work is about being as transparent as I can whilst retaining a healthy degree of privacy. But this is something that I also wanted to share with my audience because shit happens. Shit happens even to good people, even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes, the way I'm choosing to say it is clearly the universe wants me to work a lot more and realize that I was like already thinking maybe I can wind down, but that's I guess trying to find a silver lining through it. But no, just gonna go with deeper love, go with deeper faith, and hope that the universe either finds a way to ease my burden. We're talking a ridiculous sum here, or finds a way to help me draw the right people who can support me. I mean, yeah, not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and unfortunately, family of origin was a drain on what limited resources I already had. But yeah, that was Neptune stationing retrograde for me, and I sincerely hope a lot of you had a far better experience than I did. But it happens. Sometimes it's just the resolution of old karma. Sometimes it's spirit's challenge to knock you off your feet a little bit and then challenge you to see how you can come back into that space of grace. Working on that, but work continues. Maybe it's just a Capricorn thing. On the same day, the 23rd of June, we also saw Mars squaring the galactic center. Mars at 27 Pisces, galactic center at 27 degrees Sagittarius. So, really, an all time for the activation of all contracts to come into play. Even though I have had a lot of reservations about teaching and so on, I guess the universe is saying, honey, you want to get out of this, you better open that mouth of yours. So, so that was the 23rd of June. But from a more general perspective, certainly times of sudden realizations, the veil suddenly dropping, illusions, bubbles being burst, and the realization that, one has to walk their talk even more, even if one has been doing their best to do so this entire time. But that's the 23rd of June. The 25th of June, we see Chiron, and this is coming up. So this is when in Malaysia, it's the 25th right now. This is still a few hours away from going exact. We see Chiron at 9 degrees Aries, squared Vesta at 9 degrees Cancer. Now, Vesta is someone you want to keep an eye on. I mean, I've noticed over the next couple of days, we keep seeing Vesta, Vesta, Vesta again and again and again in the skies. And we actually see Vesta will be opposite the upcoming eclipse in early July. And Vesta is all about what you either choose to commit to very obsessively or what you choose to run away from with equal intensity and obsessiveness. So, this is the kind of energy which either goes one way or the other way. It's very hard for Vesta to find a middle point. And in some sense, finding that middle point is one of her challenges. So, throughout this time period, and I'm not just saying this because of my experience, but throughout this time period, every one of us really needs to be thinking of what path leads us to our true home, what path leads us to our true family, and where is home for each one of us, you know? So this is the kind of question that we need to be constantly asking ourselves through this time period. And not to simply run into commitments because they look good on paper, not to simply run into things that kind of look like the ideal of home and family and tradition, but really are not. We need to actually look and see whether the words match the energy, and so on and so forth. So, Chiron squared Vesta, 25th of June. I will go through hellos and comments once we finish the review. And thank you all for your solidarity. I appreciate it. Honestly, what I have in my life is you, all of you, my brother, the cats, and God. That's about it. And the earth. But so that's what I appreciate that immensely. So, with Chiron squared Vesta, it's very important for us not to commit to things on the basis of our perceived sense of woundedness, inadequacy, vulnerability, insecurity. So, this is something we all need to watch out for on the 25th of June. That is today in Malaysian time, where most of you are from the United States. So, this is a few hours away for you. And we're also going to be seeing Venus stationing direct, marking the end of the Venus retrograde. I knew this year was going to be tough, ladies and gentlemen, and people of different genders, but it has been tougher than I anticipated. But thankfully, with Venus stationing direct, we can move forwards a little bit, slowly start to get the engines going. Remember, Mercury retrograde is still happening. Mars is still going to have its retrograde. The universe is still going to ask us to go through this process of manifesting change in a piecemeal fashion. It's not about making these grandiose strokes or making these grandiose gestures. So, with Venus stationing direct, we're slowly waking up to all of those connections we were looking at. We're slowly being asked to look at all of those words, all of those ideas, all of those everythings that we've been looking at. So, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. On the 26th of June, we see Mars at 28 degrees of Pisces, squaring the mean north node at 28 Gemini, mean south node at 28 Sagittarius, where Ixion, the tyrant, is at 28 degrees Sagittarius as well. Again, lots of old karma coming up, especially to do with the way we collectively relate to the energy of the tyrant. So, those of you who are protesting right now, please, as this entire time period, you have got to be very, very, very careful of people who are very strongly motivated by ideologies that do not include the consent, the integrity, the dignity of others. You need to be very aware of that and to not put yourself in overly vulnerable situations. And of course, in terms of health, to boost the immune system and take adequate precautions. What we are also seeing on the 26th of June is Jupiter at 24 degrees Capricorn squared Eris. Eris is, of course, the goddess of discord. She's the goddess of chaos and strife. And she brings up stuff that show us the dark underbelly of the system that had excluded her and her children. We had already seen an activation with Eris, with the Pluto Eris square going exact on the 14th of June. But there's more to come with Jupiter and Pluto squaring Eris. This is not the only time that it's happening. This is the kind of energy where we are breaking down the system, whether or not the system wants to be broken. And this is also where we need to look at how volatility is a big factor in the way the systemic change is going to happen. Just be sure no one is egging you on to do something stupid, and try to stay clear of people who are really seeing red even when you are clearly not even waving a flag. So, be very, very mindful, especially if you're going into high intensity, high conflict spaces. On the same day, we see Boracisi, whom I told you about before, very much the energy of the false light, squaring the galactic center by a near miss. It's at 26 degrees Pisces and it will be stationing retrograde on the same day. Now, if you want all of this stuff in advance with even more detail, especially given my big financial reveal, I certainly hope you will consider joining the Tier 23 program because you'll get even more information. I do a ton of work on that. But essentially, you want to be very, very careful about also taking the time to stop, discern, learn, look at whatever signals you're getting, and think about whether they are what they appear to be. There's a lot of misinformation around. There's also a lot of projection. I mean, whilst I've not been posting about it all the time, I spend a lot of my free time researching, sharing articles and links relevant to what's happening in the US right now. And really, there's just a lot of that stuff. What I see going on, moving on in the astrology of it on the 28th of June. So whilst Mars is going and doing its dance with the North Node, South Node, Ixion, and Boracisi, and Jupiter is exploding all over the place with Eris, whilst this is happening, we then see on the 28th of June, Mars entering Aries. So this is the energy that absolutely wants you to just go in, rush in, and go pow, 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 pow. But just remember, Mars is also going to have a retrograde in Aries. So no matter how strong that impulse is to go push, resist it. The reason being, Mars at 0 degrees Aries sextiles Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius. If you have anything at 0 degrees of Virgo, that will become a yod or a finger of fate. With the Mars-Saturn sextile, look at how you can channel your personal energies into supporting corrective arrangements, into supporting collective work, into supporting charities, into basically elevating or deepening, whichever word you like to use, consciousness all over the planet. That's literally how I got through that paralyzing experience of grief with what was revealed to me a few days ago. I just looked at the world around me and I said, I can't afford to wallow in this. Get up, get up, get up. There's work to be done. Then again, that might be a Cappy thing. So moving to the 29th of June, we see Mercury conjunct Vesta. Remember what I said about Vesta earlier? That's 10 degrees of Cancer. And the Sun squared Juno. So 29th of June, please again, do not jump into commitments because they use the banner of family, community, and tradition. Look at the energy and see if it is true to you. Look at the soul contract that is presented to you in the name of family. That's very important. Family, home, tradition, land, nation, all of these questions come up. Try to find an understanding of connection that actually resonates with your emotional home and what makes you feel supported in the world. The 30th of June, we see Jupiter conjunct Pluto itself, which is mighty explosive. And all of this energy would still be squaring Eris and a bunch of other things in the skies, but I want to focus it on Eris. And what we see with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is, again, it's like the energy of a volcano that gets amplified. And, I'm not at all wanting to keep saying this, but literally this year and the next year, we're just going to be seeing a lot of planetary movements, a lot of planetary awakenings. I mean, even the last time with the Pluto-Eris conjunction, I believe that a volcano in Indonesia erupted, though that happens a lot there, but it is on the Ring of Fire. But what we're really going to be seeing is a lot of stresses and strains and the underbelly of what's happening in bodies of government, in institutions of power. That's going to be coming up very, very powerfully. And irrespective of what side you take on the events happening in the United States, facts are facts and what it can actually be traced. I mean, I was reading today, looking at how police unions have, we're not talking about conspiracy theories, we're actually looking at confirmed donations and how their financial donations actually give them a powerful influence on policy that, frankly, no occupation should have. So looking at those kinds of key details, looking at the networks of power, confluence, and how money is really, holding together the status quo, those kinds of revelations are going to be coming forth. So be in a space where you can assess them without going into the crazy of it. If you get too angry about something and decide to hit the system will immediately, slap you on the wrist and call you an agitator, whatever, whatever, whatever. Use your head, get the facts, get stuff that no one can actually contest if you're doing this kind of work. So, as I said, Pluto and Jupiter are going to be squaring Eris, and they are. This is not the last time this is going to happen. This will be happening again, especially towards the end of the year. So this is a tumultuous year. There's no, it's no. What is the word for it? No holding back. It does. It does. Is it? Do you say it doesn't pull any punches? I think that's the phrase. So moving on, I believe on the same day of the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, we see the Sun squared Chiron. Again, do not define your response to whatever is happening purely on the basis of vulnerability. Seek healing for the parts of yourself that you deem inadequate or you deem vulnerable or you deem overly sensitive. And if you can't find a way to address your personal trauma and you feel that the situation is just too much conflict around you, personally okay to also focus on your self-care. There's a difference between hiding in your shell, and there's a difference between saying, you know what, I'm not going to be particularly helpful if I'm a mess. So getting that difference, looking at the line between the two is extraordinarily important. The 1st of July, we see the Sun conjunct Mercury, Sun sextile Uranus, similar lessons. We, of course, are going to be seeing Mercury then squared Chiron, similar lessons. Vesta already taught us those lessons. But we're also going to be seeing Saturn moving backwards into Capricorn. So if you thought we were making progress, we were, but that was because Saturn was in Aquarius, not Capricorn. This is when shit is really going to hit the fan. That's why I kept saying, wait, 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 wait. Really, the status quo has not begun to hit back with the ferocity that it can hit. This is really where all ideas, all orders, patriarchal institutions and norm, embedded networks of power are going to be bringing up, they're not even going to be wrapping an iron fist in a velvet glove. It's just going to be an iron fist. So this is really when one has to be very strategic in the way that in the way that things are going to be unfolding at a collective level. How this impacts you depends on many factors. People who are having no issues in their life, great. But that doesn't mean that they are spiritually superior to you. Sometimes people are thrown in the crosshairs because they have a job to do. Whatever your experience is, don't judge it. Face it. Don't judge another person's experience. Allow them to face it in their own terms. And if a person feels the need to judge you, if the person feels the need to pedestalize themselves, screw them. Ain't nobody got time for that. So what I would say, moving on, is that 1st of July, we see Saturn, of course, re-entering Capricorn, which is when shit's really going to hit the fan. I do believe this is when we're actually going to be seeing, that second wave of COVID really, really, really powerfully hitting. It's already ramping up. The reason for this is because Capricorn is also related to autoimmune issues. And of course, COVID hits the immune system. So this is really a time where greater self-care, even though the pressure is on, even though there's even more work to be done. So, that's what's happening on the 1st of July. So then, but by that point, we are already moving towards this very, very, very powerful eclipse. We see on the 4th of July, Chiron opposite Juno. Juno at 9 degrees Libra. Again, the question of what are you giving up? What are you giving into? What kinds of soul experiences are you saying yes to on the basis of your vulnerability, or is it on the basis of your healing? So, a lot of people make very, very, I'm not going to say wrong, but questionable decisions when they are coming from a place of feeling like, they don't know what to do with themselves. Try and find a space of clarity in yourself, for yourself, before you make commitments. That's a theme that keeps coming up. The Sun also at 13 degrees Cancer trines Nessus at 13 degrees Pisces on the 4th of July. Very much the energy of the abuser's asteroid, especially as it comes up to familial situations, domestic situations, the way the feminine gets projected on over and over and over again. And remember, the feminine is found in all things. It's not just women, it is in all beings. So this is also where we can see a lot of dynamics of subtle control or manipulation or trickery coming through. Overall, not a great line up to the 5th of July. For those of you in the United States, this would be, depending on where you are, it will be the night of the 4th or the wee hours of the 5th. Then we actually reach the lunar eclipse that goes exact at 13 degrees of Capricorn. And this will, of course, be opposed the Sun conjunct Vesta at 13 degrees of Capricorn. So what's going to be happening here again is a real spotlight is going to be shown yet again on how we are dealing with these questions of power, authority, and what we are doing in our lives. If you don't have to worry about this, you're probably a lot more privileged than you realize. And sometimes recognizing that privilege is exactly what you need to do if you want to engage with this world in a meaningful sense. So, really, questions of power, questions of legacy, questions of vocation, questions of professionalism, all of this emerge around the 5th of July in a powerful way. For the Americans, it would be your formal Independence Day. With Vesta at 13 degrees Cancer, yet again, look at what you're being asked to commit to and ask yourself, is it true? If it's an ideal of family, if it's an ideal of nation, if it's an ideal of home, if it's an ideal of the emotional home that you want, is what you are receiving aligned with that deeper emotional impulse? That in itself can be a very painful realization for a lot of people. Not to mention the fact that the Sun conjunct Vesta is also in conjunct the great attractor at 14 degrees of Sagittarius at the same time of the eclipse. Your emotional truth and self honesty is what is going to lead you to the path that you are looking for. It's not going to be from the outside, it's going to be the way you look at your emotions therein. We are not here at this time on this planet to be spiritual infants. We are here to learn autonomy, to learn the way we can each one of us do our best in alignment with spirit, not as one who simply receives, but as one who co creates. And so that asks us to be absolutely clear as to what we do with the time that we have, with the body that we have, with the emotion that we have, and what we are simply then allowing to happen to us. And I don't mean this in a victim blaming sense. Even if something shit happens to you, it is your emotions that is going to tell you how you're going to respond. Are you going to sink or are you going to swim? This is where a lot of people are going to be faced with that very critical question, especially if they've kind of been coasting this entire time. All right, so having said that, let's have a quick look at questions now and to say hi's. Hello, Ariel, Yessie, Steve, Crystalline, Felicia, Janai, Karin, Sheena, Armani. I appreciate the sentiment, Crystalline. Thank you, Cicely. Hello, Marisol. Let's see. Hello, Tree. Hello, Joyous Day. Hi, Linda. Lots of love. Hello, Oni. Hello, Coco. Hello, Jackie. Hello, Whole Soul. Whole Soul is a really nice friend of mine. Yes, strong themes of betrayal for many. Yes, Tree Essence, I agree. Jackie says, greetings to everyone. Whole Soul sends love. Dark Serpent sends folded hands and a snicky. Jennifer sends love. Al Ganesh is channeling some serious wisdom. I'm doing my best. Crystalline Crow says, how much she loves Tier 23. Thank you. Okay, Steve Setta has a question. Nightmares since adolescence, dark figure around the corner. Okay. What do the skies say about integrating lower or disassociated parts of self? If you've been having it from childhood, chances are it's something that you actually saw or encountered and you just didn't know what it was. So, honestly, if you are in a space where you can actually see it, try talking to it. If you feel it's very dangerous, then get a facilitator who can do that kind of work. But usually it's a case of who are you? What do you want? Why are you disturbing me? That actually works. Even if it's a real spook, it kind of takes them by surprise. It's like, yes, I have a life to get on with. What do you want? That actually does work, at least for me. Latoya sends waves. Okay. Jersey says peace. All right. Carolina sends hearts. Hi. Nia says, hi, Queen Dr. B. Thank you, Nia. Jillian says, how's your day going? It was a bad past couple of days, but I'm doing better. Victoria says, 2020 isn't pulling any punches indeed. Nia says she does daily pujas and chants the Mercury mantra. That's great. Stay While Moonchild says she appreciates my work. Thank you. Rosenbaumer says, hi from Europe. Hello. Gertie says, snap. Kyla says, sends hearts. Jesse sends love. Stephanie asks, when does this crazy year mellow out? Honey, you don't want me to answer that question. Well, the truth is, this year doesn't mellow out. We adapt. And we take a couple of more years adapting because there's going to be a lot more crazy coming, but we have to rise to the challenge. Otherwise, the crazy is just going to overwhelm. Okay, Ampsphere says peace. Andy Girl says hello. D asks, is there a way to facilitate clarity on how to align more definitely, deeply received? Okay, the first thing is the moment you search for a definite answer and definite clarity in receiving messages, that is the moment where a lot of trickster energies in the universe look at you and go, aha. So, one of the things you've got to be comfortable with is not knowing, being comfortable in ambiguity, being willing to ask questions, being willing to be wrong, being willing to, not need to have that definite say on things. And ironically enough, though I suppose that's just the way the universe is wired, when you are able to approach things with that situation, your accuracy tends to go up just because you're willing to see and you're willing to challenge your own perceptions. Lord knows I have had so many weird, I've seen so many weird things that I've gone to my clients and I've been like, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but is this so and so? And does that person do this or does that person do that? And I might be seeing a dead relative or something. And it's not something I usually do, but it happens. But it's more of the way you approach it. And when you go into, wanting to see, with that space of humility, it helps. Okay, Bui sends hearts. Mimi says hello. Louis says hello. Coco says, I'm thinking about moving, ready to go. All right. Ariel says, I love how you get right to it and how you share the experience. Damn, people spend 20 minutes just to introduce all their projects before they start. You do this for real. Thank you. I have a 15-minute rule when it comes to movies. Heck, I've actually shortened it to 5 minutes. If the movie cannot capture my attention in the first 5 minutes, I'm already like, no. But it doesn't mean it has to be exciting. Just, it has to have a certain quality of resonance and it being done well, and then I'll sit and watch it. But no, I practice that rule. So, I don't like wasting people's time. Bismillah says, your forecasts are very helpful. I appreciate you. Thank you. Jersey says, Miss B, my birthday is next week. Any general advice? Do things that comfort you and in a nice way, we're not talking about like total self-indulgence, whatever, but just do things that make you feel grounded, comfortable, and happy. And your belly needs to be happy, and eat those kinds of food. But and stay away from people who might be trying to control you through food, through the illusion of happiness, through the illusion of safety. Find people who actually help you find that sense of fulfillment in yourself. Otherwise, just do it yourself, whichever works. I mean, sometimes the best thing I can do is sit with a tub of ice cream and watch Bridget Jones. All right, so Poetic Nature says, I caught alive. Whole Soul Drumming says, agreed. Right. Okay, Coco Monday says, is it odd to have a North Node and Moon in the same sign, Leo? It's not odd. The likelihood of that is a little less, just because, you would have, it's a slightly less common occurrence, but it's nothing bad. It just means that a lot of your spiritual path has to do with dealing with family of origin issues. Amsphere has asked a very interesting question. Are our ancestors assisting us, or are we assisting them? Sometimes it's both. Sometimes your ancestors are absolute assholes and you just kind of go, no. And sometimes they actively will do something useful and protect you and guide you, but it really depends on the ancestor. You can't make a generalization there. Stay While Moonchild says, I experienced betrayal from a friend group of 10 to 15 years plus because I chose not to share something dear to my heart. I am sorry to hear that. Ariel says, Lowell and mellows out in 2026. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yes, that's true. Let's see. Minuet says, okay, my sons are also seeing a figure man watching them from around the corner at night. with red eyes. He wears a suit tie, old fedora style hat from what I can discern, like Steve's question. If your sons are children, because I can't tell the age, then you would want someone else to go and do it. Steve, being an adult, it is better if he can confront that himself. But if it's little children you're talking about, keep carnelian under their pillow and see if that helps. Julian Lunn, I have the solar eclipse placement that just passed on 2021. Do you have advice for me for the rest of the year? No, I do not, because that's a bit too general for me to, even look at. But if you book a session, I might be able to help you then. Okay, Steph says, my guides help me most when I let go. Smart. Steph also wants to know, can you give an astrology forecast on twin flames into union? As I've mentioned before, I'm not sold on the twin flame concept. I can believe if it was a group of souls uniting as one. I would say there's a lot of that trying to happen, especially with Saturn in Aquarius. But there's also a lot of things projecting it and wanting to force things that may not really be part of the same soul pod together. So I would not say it's a positive or a negative. I'd say there's a lot of activity around that. Discern, discern, discern. Everything magic says, what is the best way to manifest? Be natural about it. That's what I would say. Carolina would say, when would you say it'd be a good time to look for land for purchase? I'm in the US, if that matters. Land for purchase. Let the July eclipse pass, because land will also be going through a lot of energetic upheavals. So you want to just let the land do its thing first, especially if you're in the US. Okay, Coco says, speaking of ancestors, is food or incense really necessary? Depends on your tradition. I've literally spoken to other people's ancestors who are like, I want this, and I want that, and I want that, just because that soul is such a powerful imprint. Depends on the ancestor, depends on the tradition. Destiny says, my question is this: how can we deal with the difficult transition period of evolving into our true selves when it creates awkwardness and tensions in our current friendships, family dynamic? I am the last person you want to ask this question for it. But I'll just, give it to you in the sense that when we are challenged to, when we are challenged to come into awareness of what is, shall we say, an experience of reality closer to our soul, family, friendship, whatever 3D material questions we have, however deep and emotional they may seem to us, are secondary questions. That's why mystics often traveled a very, very lonely path. The best thing that you can do is, you don't need to antagonize anybody, but quietly walk your own path. That's the best advice I can give you. And whatever someone else does around that is their issue. Not the easiest advice to follow, but really, you're on a journey right now. And this is a time where humanity is being challenged to face itself. And unless you're dealing with a dependent like a child, everyone has to face up to their own shadows, love. That's what's happening. Okay. Let's see. Brandon sends hearts. Atmosphere says, I'm new to your channel and I'm really enjoying your wisdom. What is your website to book reading? Okay. Website to book readings at www.theskypriestess.as.me. That's .as.me. Otherwise, just type in the words book a session at the Sky Priestess and it'll come up in Google. Now, just so you know, I have to space out my sessions because they take an incredible amount of energy, to the build up and the recovery. So there may be a longer waiting time. So, just bear that in mind, but also know the time slot that you get, unless Spirit tells me, no, you got to move it either sooner or later. The time slot that you get will be perfectly aligned to what you need. So trust the process is what I would say. www.theskypriestess.as.me. Whitney says, how are you, doctor? I just joined in the live stream. Whitney is a long-time fan. Okay, well, got a really, really bit of shitty news the past couple of days. You might want to just catch the start of the stream to recap that. But, trying to stick with faith, trying to face every day, trying to do my best. But, just doing my best. Stephanie says, I chose to leave my marriage because he could not accept my spiritual journey. I think it was the right choice for me. That's a difficult thing to do. I've had to do that myself. But when it's the right choice, you just know. All right. So, Island Pressa, how do you see society and money restructuring in the next 5 years? Maybe this is something I might look at a different date. Right now, I think things are a bit too high up in the air. And I think that, let me just put it this way, unless Spirit has given me a clear message, I don't like speculating. So, this is not a question I'm going to answer this time. And I hope you can understand that. Okay, so Cicely says, I've been dealing with a lot of vertigo and crown pressure during the strong energy. Oh, okay. Cicely, you need to ground out. You need to ground out. And what you also need to do is, um, I'll email you with specific instructions, but basically, you need to ground out. You need to allow yourself to come back into a gentler alignment and a gentler flow. It just means that you're taking too much psychic energy in at the best way to describe it is kind of at an angle. So it's more about just bringing that flow back into alignment. But like I said, I'll email you. Desiree, there we go. Okay, thoughts on Moldavite. Very, very dependent on person. Some people really feel at home with it. Some people, just like it completely made me change my life in 24 hours. I didn't like it at all. But you know, it's uh, it's really different. What they say is star seeds feel at home when they hold it because it's from a different neck of the woods, shall we say? But I used to use it a lot. After a while, I just got so, it resonated so much with my energy, I didn't feel it much anymore. So it just depends. Let's see. Dusty whistles. Okay. All right. It's frightening and necessary to be confronted with people showing their worst in this moment. Absolutely. Just do your best to stay safe and do not get egged on through the process. Bijou, blessings, Dr. B. Any tips or advice for parents of special needs children during these times? Um, Obviously, that would depend on on exactly what the situation was. But if they're hyperactive, which tends to be the case with a lot of children with special needs, though I know that's a huge generalization, but maybe have some lepidolite or blue lace agate under their pillows or buy as a little bracelet or something. And, just so that they have a space and a sense of calm. I mean, whatever adults are doing in this world, we're doing it for the next generation. Whether or not we have kids, it doesn't matter. We're doing it for them. They deserve to have that space of calmness in their home. Okay, so let's see. Crystal light. Why don't people understand that we choose to feed into the negative energy of the world that the government is pushing out? They're not forcing us to pay attention to them. Protest isn't the answer. I completely disagree with you, Crystal. Protest is really the way to deal with a situation where the people in power are abusing their power. I suggest you look up police unions and how police in the United States are utterly altering the way policies are shaped at every level of government. And when the system is already rigged against you, using the deliberative process, going through dialogue, being polite, being composed about it is not going to change when the people who enforce laws literally shape policymakers' focus on what those laws should be. So if you have an alternative to actually, break that collusion between legislators and the police, which has been documented through a flow of income, there are excellent articles out there that you can read. Unless you have a better solution, peaceful protest is the only real way that change happens. Look at South Africa, look at India. If you'd like to tell me that Mandela and Gandhi were wrong, up to you. Okay, so, right. Kyla Hubbard says, just went back to see the beginning. So sorry. Hope something easier works out. I hope so too. But yeah, I would say that probably wraps up all the questions that we have here. Do we have any further questions that have to do with the material that has been covered today? Giving you a minute before I sign off. Okay, I think, well, it's not a full minute, but no one's saying anything. So I think that's a wrap. Good to see all of you. Thank you all for coming online and for sharing your thoughts. Um, Coco says, "Are you coming back on?" Uh, oh, you mean before the eclipse? Okay. I don't know. Let's see what the universe says. I don't time these things because spirit usually has a plan. So all of you are very welcome. Take care. Very many blessings. Whatever your path is, don't judge unless you've done the research, and even then, be discerning. Stay away from the vibration of judgment. Do your research, get the facts, feel into things, take your time, and ground with the planet. And yeah, take care and very many blessings to all of you. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye bye.